Hey, what's up? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back. If you're not, this is the Bookish Life of Laura. My name is Laura, and today I am doing my March wrap-up. This is my first time doing a monthly wrap-up video on my channel, so this might be a bit messy. We'll see. I really enjoy watching like a stats video. I'm kind of a nerd like that, so I really enjoy all the bookish stats that all these booktubers give me every month. It just brings me so much joy. So hopefully you guys also like these kind of videos, because I think I'll probably do them every month, most likely, depending on how the reading month went. We'll see. So basically, I'm just going to go over my stats for the month in terms of rating, how many books I read, how many pages I read, etc. And then I'll talk about each of the books that I read and do a quick little mini review, not super long. I don't want this video to be like a million years long, but a quick like brief overview of my thoughts on them. And yeah, so let's just get started. I'm sure I don't need to preamble too much about a monthly wrap up. These are pretty common videos. So for my stats, I read a grand total of 9 books this month. I DNF'd 2, which made up for a total page count of 2,763 pages read, which feels like a lot, but also not that much. My average rating was 3.5, which does not include DNFs. I don't give DNFs a star rating. My average rating is only the books that I finished in full, and that consists of 0 5-star ratings, 4 4-star ratings, 4 3-star rating, 1 2-star rating, and 0 1-star ratings. For the format that I read these books in, this does include DNFs. I read 4 physical books, 2 ebooks, and 5 audiobooks. And as for where I got these books from, one of them came from my own physical TBR, which is terrible. I need to read more of my own books. 7 came from my library, and 3 came from Scribd. So the first book that I finished in March was The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra, Clare, and Wesley Chu. I read like probably half of this book in February, but I finished it in March, so I'm counting it for this month. This one I gave a 3-star. It was okay. I have kind of a complicated relationship with Cassandra Clare these days. I used to absolutely adore her book. She was my favorite author ever. And then I got a bit older and kind of fell out of love, but I still absolutely adore the world of the Shadowhunters. I just don't really like the books that much anymore. But I liked this one more than some others recently, just because I love Magnus, I love Alec, I love their relationship, and we got to see more of like Helen and Eileen, which I loved as well. I liked it for those reasons, but the actual story and the writing, it just doesn't really do it for me anymore. I'm still going to keep reading her books because I'm determined to read every single one of her books that she publishes in this world. So I'll just keep suffering, I guess. But no, this one was pretty good. It was good. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was just good. Next up was Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller, which is the sequel to Daughter of the Pirate Queen. This one, I was really disappointed with this one. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I loved the first book. I thought it was really fun. I liked this like ragtag group of like badass female pirates who just will do anything for each other and will die for each other. I loved that part of it, and that part was still there, but I found a lot of the elements from the first book that I loved just weren't present in the second one, and I was kind of like disappointed by it, you know. Like, I found that Eliza's character in the first book, like, she was very much like, I don't need no man, you know, like, I'm this badass bitch, which in the second one she still is that. But now she needs a man. Like, she literally needs this guy in order to reach her full power, and I really didn't like that. I feel like it didn't set the right message and the right tone for the book that the first one had, and it just took away from it. I think I would have liked it more if like it focused more on the friendship aspect rather than just the romance. I just didn't like how much her character had to rely on him to be her badass bitch self that she was in the first book. Next up was Red Hood by Elana K. Arnold. This book got a tentative 4 stars. It's probably closer to a 3.5, to be honest. So I liked it. I had like some problems with it, but overall it was pretty good. I thought the concept was so cool. I think my main issue with it was like the very graphically described sex scenes between these two like 16-year-olds. I get that the target audience for this is 16-year-olds, so like I'm not thinking that it shouldn't be there. But as somebody who was 23, I don't really want to read that, you know? Like, I don't mind when it's there. I think it's important to be there for, like, the target audience. See what consensual safe sex looks like, and also kind of be normalized and, like, not be weird to talk about. I think that's great. But for me, I personally don't want to read that. I don't want to read about kids having sex. So it's a little weird. I found that this one was, like, extremely graphically described. Like, literally the first chapter, it was weird, and like a lot of descriptions of like her like exploring her body and all this stuff, which is, again, I'm not mad that it's there. I just don't personally feel comfortable reading that, so it kind of put me off a little bit. That and the second person point of view, I actually liked it. It was a bit jarring at first, but once I got used to it, I actually quite liked that, so that was pretty cool. The reason that this got rounded up to a 4-star instead of a 3.5 or 3 is because of the friendship. This just became this like super tight-knit, adorable found family, and I adore found families, so that's why this one got a 4-star, tentatively, but still a 4-star. The next book that I read was Havenfall by Holland. This one was pretty good. It's portal fantasy. I love portal fantasy. It's also set in the mountains of Colorado, which, like, fuck yeah. I've never been there, but I would like to. It sounds wonderful. This book follows a girl named Maddie who has spent all of her summers at this inn called Havenfall that her uncle runs. She has dreams of one day becoming the innkeeper herself once her uncle retires. But this inn, of course, is not like any other. It's actually like a meeting ground for a bunch of different worlds, and every year delegates from those worlds come and meet for a peace summit where they hang out, they exchange goods, they do trading, but basically they just come to party a lot and they have a good time. She gets to hang out with her best friend who's from one of the other worlds who she's in love with. But this summer, of course, things go horribly wrong and Maddie has to figure out what's happening before people start dying, basically. It was a really fun read. It wasn't like amazing. It really had some like pacing issues, I found, but the characters were fantastic. The world building was great. I liked the magic system. Yeah, this one got a 3.5 stars. The next book that I read was Blood Countess by Lana Popovic. This one was interesting. I gave this one a 3.5 stars, and I will be honest here, it got that hyper rating pretty much because I will rate anything with lesbians in it as higher than it maybe should be, just because that's who I am as a person. So the actual content of this book was, it was good. It definitely wasn't bad or anything. I thought it was really interesting and like it was a bit creepy, which is what I was hoping for. But basically it follows Anna Darvulia as she like makes her way into becoming the chambermaid for Elizabeth Bathory, who was the Blood Countess in, I think, 16th century Hungary, something like that. I had never heard of her before reading this book, so I thought it was pretty interesting to kind of like read about who she was, and then I went and did like my own research afterwards because I was curious about who she actually was. But this book was pretty gruesome, which is what I was expecting. Apparently not as gruesome as the real Blood Countess was, but it is a YA novel, so there's only so much they can do there. I thought it was good. I think my main issue was just with Anna herself. I found her to be kind of dumb, to be honest. I mean, like, she was warned about the Blood Countess so many times by so many different people long before she fell in love with her. And she just chose to ignore it and thought that all these people who had been around the Blood Countess for years had no idea what they were talking about. And she just went ahead and got herself in that situation, and I had a hard time feeling bad for her, to be honest. It's maybe a bit mean of me, but I didn't really feel that bad for her. She was warned extensively by everybody around her, and she chose to ignore that basically because Elizabeth was hot and gave her attention that she never had before, which, like, mood, but I mean, not a good reason to become a murderer, you know? Hot girls versus murder. You gotta draw the line somewhere, guys. I'll definitely be reading the next books in the series, however many there will be, I have no idea. But this series, like, each book will focus on a different person in history, which I think is a pretty cool concept. So I'm looking forward to that. And I have read other books, or one other book by this author before. I read Wicked Like a Wildfire. I haven't read the sequel yet because I'm horrible, but I am planning on it. I do own it. I will be reading it hopefully this year, but we'll see. So next up was Finna by Nino Cipri. This book was such a delight. I gave it a 4-star. It was another portal fantasy. If you haven't noticed yet, I love portal fantasy. This book is about a couple who has just broken up pretty recently, but they work together at a like knockoff IKEA. So one day they go in for their shift and this wormhole opens up in the middle of their store and they're like, what the fuck? And a customer's grandmother gets lost inside. So the manager calls for a staff meeting and she brings out this video of like here's what to do when a wormhole opens up in your store. And it's really hilarious. So the manager asks for 2 volunteers to go into the wormhole to retrieve this customer. Our one character, Jules, volunteers to go in because they think it would be really fun and like this great adventure. But nobody else volunteers, so the manager just picks somebody at random, which ends up being Ava, our main character, and Jules's most recent ex. So these two are now stuck together, going into a wormhole, facing all kinds of horrible dangers, and having what should have been, in my opinion, a lot of fun along the way. This is why this book didn't get a 5-star for me, is because I found that Ava was really negative. This may just be because I fucking love portal fantasy, and if I ever found one, I would be over the moon ecstatic about it, which Jules was. Jules was so excited for it, but Ava just like did not care. She didn't want to be there, and it just kind of like brought down the mood a lot. So it didn't get 5 stars for that reason, but otherwise, like, it was wonderful. I loved the rep in it. Ava is queer and Jules is trans, so it was wonderful to have that kind of dynamic with them. And just the whole story was like super unique, and I'll definitely be reading more from this author. I think their writing style is wonderful. I absolutely adored it. And yeah, this book was just great. I definitely recommend that you give it a read. It's really short as well. It's like 140 something pages, so I flew through it in like one night. Really, really enjoyed that one. The next book I read was Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, which is the second book in the Murderbot Diary series. And this book just follows our lovely, adorable Murderbot as he goes off on his merry way on his journeys, and he meets a new friend named Art. It's basically just the two of them hanging out, having a good time, getting into all kinds of shenanigans. I absolutely adore this series. It's so much fun and just like a really hilarious light read. I'd recommend this book for everybody pretty much who likes sci-fi, but especially people who are just kind of getting into sci-fi and like want something to ease their way into it. I know like for me as well, sci-fi can be really intimidating because there's so much like technology and like all this stuff that's really complicated that I just like can't wrap my head around. But I find that Murderbot Diaries is just, it's very light, it's mostly just humorous, and it's a great way to kind of like get yourself into a sci-fi setting without all the like hard sci-fi elements. So it's definitely great for newbies like myself. And yeah, and they're just so much fun. This book got a 4 stars for me. Next up was The Winter Duke by Clare Eliza Bartlett. This was another 3.5 star for me. It was good. I loved the world building and the magic system was awesome. I thought it was really well done. Overall, this was just a well executed story. I think the reason that I got kind of a lower star than it might have otherwise is because it was very political. I liked the politics in this book. I think it was just the issue of the main character not wanting to be a part of that world. Like, she does not want to be the Duke at all. She was forced into it very suddenly, so she goes into it knowing literally nothing about politics, and she has no desire to learn either. And it's first person as well, so as she's going through her days and like trying to learn the politics of her entire kingdom and trying to figure out how to be a good leader, she really doesn't care. And she says so many times that like she doesn't get it, she can't remember all the names, and so she doesn't really try to. As the reader, it makes it hard for me to follow along as well. I had a hard time caring about the main conflict. So basically her people want to overthrow how their government currently is and make a parliament instead in order for their people to have more say in how their kingdom is run. But because the main character didn't really care to learn all the politics, I didn't get to learn why they wanted the change. I didn't really understand what parts they wanted to change or what they wanted to change it to instead, because she just didn't really care that much and like didn't try to learn. So I just didn't understand the motivations, which made it a bit hard to care, basically. So it was fun. I love the romance. This is a female romance, which I adore. But otherwise the plot was just okay. Again, it could have been really good if the main character put more effort into learning. That way the reader could also learn with her. And the last book that I read was The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket, which is book 3 in the series of Unfortunate Events. This one I just kind of picked up on a whim. I've been like very slowly reading this series over the last couple of years, and by slowly I mean I've read 3 books in 5 years. Basically, I pick up these books whenever I want something really quick, and because it was the last day of March, I was in the mood to read but didn't want to start a new book because the Owls were starting the next day. So I just picked up the audiobook for this one and read through it in one night, and they're really fun. I love these books. I think I read them as a kid. I honestly don't remember. So I am reading them now. I'm not sure if they're rereads. They might be. I know I read at least a couple of them when I was a kid, but I don't know which ones, and I probably didn't read them in order either. I've kind of been doing like a children's novel catch-up project on the back burner for a couple years. So like I want to read this series. I want to read Percy Jackson and like all these series that I didn't read as a kid that most people did. So these are kind of books that I save for when I want to read but just want something really quick. So that's what these are for, and like I don't read them very often, clearly, but when I do, I have a lot of fun. I think they're just really delightful and just a good time. So that's it for the books that I read. So now I just have 2 DNFs to talk about. The first one is The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. This one, I was really liking it. I thought it was great. I talked about this in my vlog that I did last week. Basically, I started this book like right when the pandemic got really serious in my area, and so my weird anxiety brain was like not letting me read this book because every time that I picked it up, all I could do was think about the pandemic. So I put it down for now. I will definitely be picking this back up probably in a couple of months because I was really enjoying it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I loved the world and the characters were pretty good, not amazing so far, but like they were kids where I was. So this one was a DNF for me, but I will be picking it up later. And my last book to talk about is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, which is the first book in the Farseer trilogy. So this one, I was about 25% of the way through, and I'm not DNFing it, so it's kind of misleading to say DNF, but I was not going to be able to finish it before the owls started, and I don't have time to read it during the owls. So that book is just kind of on hold for right now, and I'll pick it back up probably in May. But yeah, so I'm not like never going to finish it. It's just right now I do not have time for that gigantic book while doing a readathon, so it's on hold for right now. So that's it for all of my books for this month. My favorite read of March was definitely Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, and my least favorite was Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. As I mentioned earlier, this is my very first monthly wrap-up, so next month might look different. I don't really know how I want to go about doing these videos yet, so this is kind of like my test run for this. And then for next month, I might kind of do things differently, add different stats. I don't really know. We'll see what happens. But for right now, that's all that I've got for today. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. You're staying safe, having a good time, doing all the things that we should be doing while also staying inside. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!